Hi, I'm Stacy and this is Mike and we're the O'Neills and we're going to be presenting expectation and conflict resolutions today.
We are not used to video recording stuff, so we ask you guys to bear with us. We originally put the presentation together as a PowerPoint file, so we probably are going to struggle a little bit with slide transitions and things like that. So hang in there and we're going to try to do our best.
We're going to try. So to give you a little bit of background about me, I grew up in central New Jersey. Not a very religious family. We did go to church on special occasions, some holidays. I did grow up Methodist Presbyterian, however, not a big, large influence on that. My grandmother, however, was religious and she would talk to us about things, so I did learn a lot from her as well. So.
I grew up completely differently. I'm from an Irish Catholic family. Both of my parents were born in Ireland. We went to church, absolutely every week. If we missed regular Mass, my mother would make us go to a Spanish Mass in a nearby town, and we didn't understand a word of what they were saying, but it didn't matter. We grew up, so we were going to Mass. So definitely had a different experience.
Yes. So we've been married for 25 years this past October, and this is a picture of us as a young couple, and this is the old couple now. We do have 2 children, and this is a picture of them when they were cute, adorable, and young. They're still adorable in my eyes, but they're not young anymore. Ryan is 22, and he is a senior at Rowan University, and Caitlin is 20, and she is a sophomore at TCNJ. So, and another quick little fun fact about us, we actually went through marriage prep 3 times. Back then when we were getting married and engaged, it was called pre-Cana, so we went through it 3 times. We had a formal Catholic marriage prep, a formal Presbyterian marriage prep, and then we had a not formal but casual meeting with Mike's family priest.
We got married in the Presbyterian church, and my family asked a family friend priest to assist with the ceremony. So we also got together with him and went through a shorter marriage prep evening with him. So 3 times.
3 times. So you guys are getting off easy with just 1 time. All right, so some typical conflict areas that evolve in a marriage are listed here. We're not going to go through each and every one of them, but just to give you an idea of some of them. These issues do come up weekly. I mean, it's just a normal occurrence. They may not turn into a conflict, but they are there and they need to be discussed. So,
the first 2 items on the list were money and work, and they are somewhat related. And we've certainly seen many changes in that respect over the last 25 years. When we were first married, we were both working. We had a small apartment. We paid a little bit of rent, and we
had 2 incomes.
Exactly. We had 2 paychecks, and we were able to, kind of do things that we wanted to do. And then we bought a house, and then we had a baby, and so we went down to 1 income. And, we had a second child, and, things definitely changed. We were, fortunate, along the way, but things definitely changed. We had some, a couple job changes along the way, but it, it's all worked out. We're somehow surviving 2 college tuitions at the moment. So, and a recent job change again. So, definitely, work and money have definitely been things that have changed over time, but again, we've been fortunate to work together and get through them.
Yes, yeah. So other typical areas are parenting and your extended family and in-laws. Parenting, these are things you want to discuss on going forward. If you have children, how are you guys going to raise them, and what are your views on raising children? In-laws, an extended family, that's always a little tense subject sometimes. With our families, we've realized what works for us. If there's an issue or a conflict on Mike's side of the family, it's best for him to handle it on his side. And the same for my side of the family. If there's a conflict or an issue, it's best for me to handle my side of the family with that.
We kind of learned early on that crossfighting wasn't really a good thing for us. There's more hard feelings that we think were generated with crossfighting, me to her family or her to my family. It was a lot easier, I think, for our families to hear things from us and not
From
the
the others.
crossfighting.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
that's been our experience.
Right.
So.
Religion is always a topic good to discuss. When Mike and I were engaged and dating, we did discuss how we were going to move forward with religion, seeing that at the time Mike, was Catholic and I was Presbyterian. We did, get married, as we said before, in the Presbyterian church, and we had the priest come and preside with the minister. But we knew going forward that we were going to go to a Catholic church and raise the children Catholic. So, yeah.
Another really big issue for conflict, I think especially now, that didn't exist 25 or 30 years ago, is competing with your spouse's.
I'm sorry.
Competing with technology for your spouse's attention. This really, I think, seems to be a big issue. We see it all the time in restaurants and airports and in so many other places where couples and family members, et cetera, are all looking at their individual phones and they're not talking to each other. And so I really think that that's a new conflict area to really be aware of, is competing with technology for your spouse's attention.
Absolutely. So.
A couple deeper reasons for conflict within marriage could be the emotional baggage that you might bring in.
Yeah, so it's something like, from your past experiences, maybe past relationships prior to meeting your spouse. You're bringing in these negative feelings, these negative emotions that really don't affect you anymore, but you're bringing them into the relationship, and that could cause a real major conflict.
Another one might be unmet expectations.
Yeah, so on a lighter side with the unmet expectations, an example is growing up, my family decorated the house from top to bottom. Every single holiday, we had Easter eggs all over the house. We had Christmas trees and, 2 Christmas trees everywhere. Whereas Mike grew up, they decorated, but not to the extent that my family did. And my expectation going into the marriage was we're going to decorate the house from top to bottom. So our first year of marriage, every holiday came and Mike was like, why? Why do we have
all this stuff?
Why do we have a giant Easter egg? So, those unmet expectations, if you go into a relationship that you're expecting it to be one way and your spouse is expecting it to be the other way, may cause, a deeper conflict. So.
Who do you think won the battle of
the Christmas
decorating?
Tree. So, expectations in your marriage are normal and healthy. However, when your expectations don't match your experience as a marriage, conflict may arise. So be clear and communicate your expectations with your spouse. Some questions maybe along those lines are that you can discuss with each other is, do you expect to be happy in your marriage most of the time? This is a good question. Do you expect your spouse to take care of you emotionally and financially? Do you expect full commitment from your spouse to your marriage? And, are you going to be number one, or do you expect to be number one in your spouse's life? And these are things that you really want to talk about and make sure that you're clear and communicate them with each other. So,
conflicts and disagreements don't always have to be a bad thing. It could really show that both of you have your individual opinions and that they don't always have to be the same. And there is an opportunity for you guys to both work together through that and to hear both sides of the issue and to try to come to an agreement that helps you both as a couple.
they don't always have to end in a fight, for sure.
Yeah.
So
resolving conflict requires knowing, accepting, and adjusting to each person's differences.
So one example of how Mike and I differ. So if we are having a current conflict or argument or something like that, Mike tends to be the one that is quiet and will go off and ponder and think about it and doesn't want to be disturbed. He wants to, by himself think about it and decide how he's going to, approach it or resolve it. Whereas I am the opposite, and I will nag and, keep at him like, what's wrong? What's the problem? Why did he keep doing that? And sometimes I may say something I may regret because I'm that reactive personality, and Mike is more of the passive, like, let me sit back and think about it before we do it. So knowing your partner's and your spouse's reaction to things or how they adjust to certain conflicts is a good thing to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Resolving conflict also requires defeating selfishness. Neither partner should win. There shouldn't be a loser and a winner. If one wins and the other loses, you're just building resentment to each other. And try to listen and hear what your spouse is saying. Put yourself in their shoes. How are they feeling regarding this? How, what you're saying, how are they taking it in? Can you state your views without arguing? Can you, approach the conflict, peacefully without it turning into a real fight?
great.
Okay, so some of the strategies you can do for
I
that.
just got to pause here. Is this type showing up backwards?
Yes.
All right, great.
Okay.
So, I'm going to hold it up anyway. So,
Real quick, if you can read backwards.
so
Okay. So stick to the problem at hand.
I'll put that down. So I think you want to avoid past issues if you can. And I think you want to avoid terms like always and never.
Get on the same side of the fence.
Again, I think you want to look for solutions that are going to really benefit you guys as a couple and not an individual win, but something beneficial to you guys as a couple.
Try to identify the core issue.
It's pretty easy to become distracted by something that's really not all that important. If somebody throws clothes all over the place, maybe that's not the real issue. Maybe there's something else that is really causing some tension. It's not just the clothes that are thrown around.
Right.
So,
Don't be a mind reader.
it's good to ask clarifying questions. It's we found it's really easy to really think the other person has a lot of different ideas about something, and in many cases it's just not true.
No.
So ask clarifying questions.
Don't let the sun go down on your anger.
We've kind of had an interesting experience for ourselves. We've never slept on the couch or in another room or anything like that. We don't always resolve issues by the end of the night, but we've not again slept in other places. We've always slept in the same bed. We've again we're not always able to resolve something by the end of the evening, but we've not let that get to the point where we've slept somewhere else in the house, or left the house and slept at a friend or family house or anything like that. But that's for us what
And I think that
we've
and I think that helps in a sense that if it is a truly major conflict or argument, going to bed may you sleep on it and you wake up with a different perspective in the morning. You're a little more fresh, and maybe you can discuss the situation without getting angry. Avoid character assassination.
Self-explanatory.
Yeah, you want to be your spouse's cheerleader. You want to root for them and be their cheerleader. And draw on your spiritual resources, the church, any groups that are in the church that help guide you through any conflicts. Never forget that your relationship with your spouse is far more important than winning an argument and being right. So, some advice that we could give you is that no one should ever hear anything bad about your spouse from you. I think we're both in agreement with that. Like I
Right.
truly don't talk badly about Mike, and I'm hoping he doesn't talk badly about me. But I mean, I know it's tempting sometimes when you're talking to friends and you're like, oh, he just made me so mad last night. But you want to do it in a way that you're not bad-mouthing your spouse. Over communicate, obviously, talk it out. Make sure you guys are talking about your feelings and your issues to help with that. Try new things together, like videotaping a marriage prep, which you're not used to. So be each other's champion, be grateful for each other's contributions, trust and respect each other. And, if you have children in your life, be their role model. Show them what, marriage should look like and a healthy and happy marriage.
So as a final piece of advice, I'm going to hold up this backwards printing here on.
If you're seeing it backwards, I don't know.
You probably are. So Monsignor last February, February of 19, as we were originally working on this, had a sermon, and in that sermon, he gave this great piece of advice. You don't need to say everything that's on your mind. So very
Yes.
important piece of advice. So,
All right, well, thank you. We do have 2 questions for you to walk away with, and hopefully at the end of January when we see you, we can talk about them. How has COVID changed your expectations of your wedding and your marriage? And how have you dealt with conflict during COVID? Because this is a challenging time for everybody, and especially if you're in close contact with a lot of people and you're not used to that. How are you dealing with that conflict? So that's our presentation. Thanks for listening, and hopefully we'll see you at the end of January and get to meet you in person.
we'll see you in January.
Bye.
See you.